spend a few minutes talking about teacher action research. Teacher action research is research that is carried out by teachers, educators in their own classrooms while they are teaching. Basically, they don't use outside researchers or evaluators. What they do is design a program to sort of evaluate what is going on with their teaching. Its focus is largely on improving educational practice, improving teaching and learning, but also on the social and environmental factors that affect the nature and success of teaching and learning. So, the idea here is that teachers will figure out what is happening in their classrooms. They'll identify a problem, and they will formulate a plan to fix it. What they use is a formative assessment. Now, again, if we remember from our studies in education and our education classes, formative assessments are assessments that will provide feedback and data that can help find areas of improvement for the instructor or professor. Well, summative assessments of teaching would be those which assess the level of success and or the proficiency that has been obtained. Teacher action research is change-oriented. Now, for something to be change-oriented, we need to think of teaching and any practice that we do not in terms of only one right way to do things. We need to think of it as if there are many, many, many different ways to do things, and that the good teachers, the effective instructors in community colleges and colleges are those who are willing to change the way they do things when they find something that is effective. They need to constantly be looking for those things which are more effective in the classroom, rather than becoming stagnant and test or teaching just as a sort of a methodical practice where a teacher would, for example, use the same teaching notes or lecture notes that they've been using for years and years and years, rather than trying to find new and interesting ways to present the same lessons. So a typical outline of what happens when we, as educators, try to execute plans for teacher action research. 7-step process that we go through. First, we identify the problem. Find the problem. In your teaching, as you're examining what you've done, what you've been doing, try to find the areas that you believe are hurting. Now, for college instructors like myself, it's rather easy to do this. We can look at our student evaluations at the end of the semester. The things the students say in those student evaluations should be something that we can glean from and find information about how we are being ineffective in an area. Then we've identified the problem. The next step is to evaluate the problem. What is it about the way that you've been teaching that is not working? What are the ways in which you envision improvements being made? That's the second step, the evaluation. The evaluation can also go into some areas of, evaluating and examining other teachers, discussing this with other teachers, and asking them what has worked for them in the past or what will work for you in the future. After you're done evaluating the problem, the next thing you want to do is make recommendations. Now, this is the teacher evaluating themselves and their own teaching practice. So what the teacher should do is make recommendations by writing down on a piece of paper. What can I improve? What is it that I think I can do differently? What has the research that I've looked at so far showed me or told me about what the problems are? The next thing, the next step, step 4, is to make application to the practice. Okay? So you take the steps, the recommendations, the evaluations, the identified problem, you take all that and then you decide what ways in which you can evaluate your own teaching and make application to practice. By making application to practice, this is where the evaluations that you've done, the recommendations that you've made, become action in the classroom. This is where you take the knowledge you've gained from looking at the problem and you turn it into action in the classroom. The next step, and this is probably one of the key steps in teacher action research, is reflection. Once you've taken the application to practice and you've made the application, then you reflect on it. What worked? What didn't work? How did it work? Is there ways that it might work better if I tweaked this or did this a little differently? Maybe if I did a different kind of presentation here. Maybe if I had some illustrations to show the students here. Or maybe if I could show them a map here. Or whatever. Just figuring out and reflecting on how the whole thing, the whole process up to this point has worked. Once you've done the reflection, then you consider new questions that have arisen as a result of your reflection. These new questions should tell you where it is you need to go to improve. The very next step, and the 7th step in this 7-step process, is to return to identifying the problem. When you return to identifying the problem, then you start all over. This makes teacher action research the kind of research and the kind of tool that teachers can use to continually improve their instructional quality for the students. Because ultimately the reason we're teaching, the reason any of us teach, is so we can help students be successful in their lives and in their careers. Things in faculty development that's teacher involved and teacher focused that I'm really excited about is the idea or the concept of lesson study. Lesson study is a process that originated in Japan, in Japanese elementary schools. And the whole idea here, and the really amazing thing to me about this type of faculty development, is with lesson study, you have the opportunity to get feedback from your peers. It is as if it's sort of a peer-focused, peer-reviewed type of faculty development for classroom teaching and learning. The idea, and the thing that I think is so powerful about lesson study, and the thing that I think sadly when I started teaching in college was missing, is the idea of peer review. I can tell you I have been teaching in college now for 3 years, and my evaluations have consisted almost entirely of student evaluations when I've been able to get those, and those have been often been really delayed. Some of the concepts in lesson study that I think are important and powerful are that you are evaluated by people often, hopefully, who have been in the teaching careers, in the vocation of teaching, for much longer than you have. And that's invaluable for teachers to be able to learn from their peers, particularly the more experienced peers who have been teaching in the classroom for a long, long, long time. Now, this can be done in a number of different ways. In the first place, you can, as a program, as a faculty development director at your college or university, you can take the ideas from lesson study and you can apply them in various classrooms across your university. Or it could be applied across different colleges. Now this would be, I think, in the area of community college development, I think this would be radical and new because I don't think that there's ever been, and I haven't done a lot of research into this, the idea has just sort of struck me, but I'm not entirely sure that there's ever been a lot of research where one community college transfers teachers to another community college so they can evaluate other teachers. I think that would be a novel and great idea, particularly in states with robust community college systems. The state of Indiana, of course, has a statewide community college system that would work very well in that instance. The University of Wisconsin system has a number of schools that are two-year community college-oriented schools within the UW system, and it would be a radical place, or it would be appropriate, I think, for organizations like that, big community college organizations with multiple campuses in multiple cities across the state. I think they could very easily do some sort of instructor swap in order to put instructors together in classrooms and let teachers teach and be evaluated by their peers. What typically would happen in a grade school or high school situation with lesson study is there would be a 2 or 3 week plan in the fall and the spring semesters where the teachers who were involved in this lesson study program evaluating each other, their classrooms, their individual classrooms would be covered by substitute teachers for the days when they have to be focusing on and observing a teacher within another classroom. So I think it would be a radical new idea, and I think it would be a lot of fun to try something like this in colleges, and I think it would move college teaching forward if we could do that. So I'm kind of excited about this idea of lesson study. One way that teachers in the one program were able to do this was they started in summer workshops, and these summer workshops were offered for several years, and then the teachers were organized into small groups throughout the year to evaluate each other's teaching. I just think that lesson study is a great idea. I think that learning from your peers, having your peers observe you teaching, giving lectures, giving lessons, teaching lessons, and this works beyond just the lecture model. And of course, the lecture model is what is increasingly, the lecture model in teaching, particularly in college education, is increasingly frowned upon. More and more faculty developers are talking about the idea of flipped classrooms or classrooms where it's more student-engaged or student-empowered learning. I myself am trying something like this right now. It'd be nice to have somebody in the teaching somebody in the profession evaluating my teaching in terms of this and the way it's working out. I'm currently over the summer here teaching a philosophy class, and I've decided to do more student-focused learning by letting the students pick the philosophical topics that we discuss throughout the semester, rather than me picking it and giving a reading list. And it seems to be working so well so far, in that one of the things we're looking at, the students seem to be fascinated by philosophy of technology. So we're going to be spending time and a lot of focus on learning philosophy of technology as we go. Another example of faculty development that involves teachers in the process that I'm kind of excited about is instructional coaching. Now, with instructional coaching, what is done is there's the establishment of coaches to coach teachers in the teaching process and help them learn. The interesting thing is, as our textbook points out, the role of the instructional coach has been easier to sort of define and solidify than a definition of what an instructional coach is. The book suggests that one of the largest obstacles to understanding instructional coaching is the lack of clear definition of the phenomenon or agreement as to what counts as coaching. So the book finally settles on a definition, I guess, of instructional coaching. And this definition is that instructional coaching is a non-supervisory, non-evaluative, individualized guidance and support that takes place directly within the instructional setting, i.e. the classroom. So the coach is wise to adopt the disposition of one who actively learns from his or her own practice, is eager to improve, and is open to feedback. So instructional coaching is an opportunity for schools to enhance their faculty development by having an instructional coach on staff who can go around, travel to classroom, and provide feedback in a non-punitive way to teachers to help them improve and enhance their teaching. So, all in all, instructional coaching seems very exciting. The last method of instructional faculty development that is teacher-driven, teacher-involved, is the idea of cognitively guided instruction. Now, this type of instruction tries to focus more, or this type of faculty development tries to focus more on how students learn, the way they learn, and the learning capacity. Now, much of the article in our book and much of the research and stuff I did online in terms of this was geared, it seems, mostly towards mathematics. I teach in the humanities, so I'm still trying to formulate ideas and ways in which the values and the ideas expressed in cognitively guided instruction can work and transfer into the humanities. Now, certainly, with the logic classes I teach, there certainly seems to be something in cognitive cognitively guided instruction that will be important to me. However, in just an intro to philosophy class or an ethics class, I'm not certain that I immediately see the value of cognitively guided instruction. Although it would be interesting to find out the ways in which, if we could, the ways in which students can and will grasp abstract ideas and concepts that are so prevalent in the arts and humanities. So, that's going to conclude our video. I want to thank you for watching and ask you to tune in again for more advice and more ideas on faculty development and education, the educational system. Thank you very much.